Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sheriff Adon Mosa, serving Santa Fe County in New Mexico. On Wednesday, February 26, 2025, at approximately 1:45 p.m., deputies from the Sanic County Sheriff's Department were dispatched to the residence located at 1425 Old Sunset Trail. Upon arrival, they discovered a tragic scene. 95-year-old Gene Hackman, his 65-year-old wife Betsy Arakawa, and their beloved dog were all found deceased. The incident came to light when an individual who had arrived to perform routine maintenance on the residence became alarmed after receiving no response from inside. Growing increasingly concerned, they contacted neighborhood security to conduct a welfare check. Security personnel arrived at the residence, peered through a window, and immediately noticed both Mr. Hackman and Ms. Arakawa lying unresponsive on the ground. Without hesitation, they dialed 911. Deputies arrived on the scene and proceeded to gain access to the residence. Upon entry, they first located Ms. Arakawa, who was confirmed to be deceased. As they continued their search throughout the home, they found Mr. Hackman in a separate area of the house, also lifeless. In addition to the couple, a deceased German Shepherd was found inside the home. However, 2 other dogs were discovered on the property, and they appeared to be in good health. Following protocol, deputies promptly secured the scene and notified the Criminal Investigations Division due to the unusual circumstances. 2 deceased individuals found inside the same residence. Given these conditions, there was an immediate concern for potential environmental hazards that could pose a risk to others. In response, Santa Fe City Fire Department personnel, along with the New Mexico Gas Company, were requested to the scene to conduct tests for carbon monoxide or any other foreign elements that might have been present. Fortunately, after thorough examinations, the scene was deemed safe. Later that evening, at approximately 9:30 p.m., a search warrant was issued and subsequently executed at the residence. During the search, several items were collected for investigative purposes. These included 2 green-colored cell phones, 2 bottles of prescription medication, 1 bottle of over-the-counter Tylenol, a request for medical records, and a 2025 monthly planner calendar. These items were secured and taken as evidence to aid in the ongoing investigation. Additionally, the Santa Fe Animal Control Division worked in coordination with the couple's family members to ensure the safety and well-being of the 2 surviving dogs. Meanwhile, investigative personnel remained on-site throughout the night and into the following morning, meticulously processing the scene for any further evidence. It is important to note that, at this point, there were no apparent signs of foul play. During the early morning hours of Thursday, February 27, 2025, both Mr. Hackman and Ms. Arakawa were transported to the office of the medical investigator, where autopsies were performed. The initial findings revealed that neither individual displayed any external trauma. However, the official cause and manner of death had yet to be determined, as further testing, including toxicology reports, was still pending. Earlier today, at approximately 2 p.m., I personally spoke with Dr. Jarrell, the pathologist from the New Mexico office of the medical investigator. She informed me that multiple tests had been submitted for expedited processing. She also disclosed a key finding: both individuals tested negative for carbon monoxide poisoning. Furthermore, an initial interrogation of Mr. Hackman's pacemaker was conducted, which revealed that the last recorded event took place on February 17, 2025. However, a more comprehensive investigation is still underway to gather additional details regarding the couple's final moments. That concludes my statement at this time. I am prepared to take a few questions. However, I must remind everyone that this remains an active investigation. Reporter question: based on the conditions of both bodies, who do you believe passed away first? Sheriff's response: that is an incredibly difficult question to answer. Even with the assistance of the Office of the Medical Investigator, we have not yet been able to determine that information definitively. It is a key question we are actively working to answer, but as of now, it remains uncertain. Reporter question: regarding the 2025 planner mentioned in the search warrant, were there any scheduled events listed for either Mr. Hackman or Ms. Arakawa in the coming weeks? Sheriff's response: that is certainly part of our ongoing investigation. We are currently in the process of analyzing the contents of both cell phones, including call logs, text messages, scheduled events, and photos. One of the critical aspects of an investigation like this is constructing a timeline of events leading up to the incident. Typically, we work to establish a chronological sequence before a tragic event occurs, as it provides valuable insight. However, in this case, it appears we are working in reverse to piece everything together. As part of our investigation, we are in the process of establishing a comprehensive timeline, one that starts from the time of death, the autopsy results, and other critical findings. From there, we plan to work our way backward while simultaneously investigating events leading up to the incident. By doing both, we hope to piece together a clearer picture of what may have happened to both individuals. Reporter: Sheriff, Mr. Hackman's pacemaker recorded its last activity on February 17th. Does that suggest that he may have passed away around that date? That's a very reasonable assumption. Based on the information provided by the pathologist, it's highly likely that February 17th was indeed his last day of life. However, we're still waiting for further confirmation. Reporter: Was there any surveillance footage available? And why are the pills such an important part of the investigation? Let's address the medication first. The presence of prescription pills is considered crucial evidence because they could potentially be a contributing factor in determining the cause of death. These are items that the pathologist and the Office of the Medical Investigator, OMI, will closely analyze. Our job as investigators is to gather as much information as possible and present it to the forensic experts so they can make an informed decision on the manner and cause of death. Now, regarding surveillance footage, this is something that has been asked multiple times. I want to be clear on this. Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa valued their privacy immensely. They were known to be very private individuals who lived a quiet, secluded life. As of now, we have found no surveillance cameras, either inside or outside their residence, that could help us establish a clearer timeline of events. If anything changes in that regard, we will update you accordingly. Reporter: Tommy, CBS News. Have investigators been able to access the cell phones that were collected? Not yet. We do have the phones in our possession, as they were seized as evidence during the search. However, accessing the data is a process. If the phones are password protected, we may need to use specialized software or even seek assistance from other agencies to bypass security measures and retrieve the information. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes time and technical expertise. Reporter: Albuquerque Journal. Were there names on the prescription bottles? Do we know who was taking the medication? Due to HIPAA regulations, I cannot disclose who the medication was prescribed to, nor can I reveal what specific medications were found. That is protected health information. I understand the curiosity, but unfortunately, I am not at liberty to share those details. Reporter: Just to clarify, can you confirm what types of medication were discovered at the scene? As I just mentioned, I will not be releasing the specific names or types of medications found in the residence. That information falls under medical privacy laws and cannot be shared at this time. Reporter: Sheriff, based on the carbon monoxide test results, can you say for sure that poisoning was ruled out? From what we know so far, both individuals tested negative for carbon monoxide poisoning. To me, that strongly suggests that carbon monoxide was not a factor in their deaths. However, this is something that we will continue discussing with the pathologist and OMI to ensure that we are not overlooking any other potential toxic substances. Toxicology results will provide a more definitive answer once they are completed. Reporter: Was there any evidence to suggest that Betsy Arakawa was in distress before she passed? At this time, I don't have that information. I was not personally present when the bodies were discovered, and based on what has been reported to me, there is no immediate indication that Ms. Arakawa showed signs of distress before her passing. If that changes, we will update our findings. Reporter: What about the dogs? Were there any signs that they were affected by whatever happened? As of now, we do not believe that the environment itself posed a direct threat. Carbon monoxide has been ruled out, and unless further toxicology tests reveal something unexpected, we are operating under the assumption that whatever occurred was isolated to the individuals involved. That being said, We are carefully analyzing everything, including photographic evidence, objects found near the bodies, and any other potential environmental factors, to determine if anything else could have contributed to their deaths. Reporter: were there any signs that either individual suffered a fall? Any evidence of trauma on the bodies? No, at this time, there is no evidence to suggest that either Mr. Hackman or Ms. Arakawa suffered from a fall or physical trauma. If anything changes based on further forensic analysis, we will provide an update. Final statement. We appreciate your patience and cooperation as this investigation continues. Our goal is to gather as much information as possible to provide answers, not just to the public, but most importantly, to the family and loved ones of the deceased. This remains an active case, and we will continue working with all relevant agencies to ensure that we get to the truth.